We are live. Welcome to the Fight Life podcast. I am today joined by my brother, once again, like 95% of the time, Richard Rodriguez. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. Richard is going to be interviewing me. And he's already kind of prepped me for this to say that he's going to spitball all the hard questions that everybody's been wanting to know about my life, which is no one cares. We're good. It's going.
Okay.
So, all right, dog. Well, what you got for me?
How's your day been? I didn't expect that one.
I didn't see that coming at all.
How's your day been so far, man?
Today's been like super chill, super relaxed. I haven't been getting much sleep the past few days. So, and I didn't even get sleep last night either, but it's been chill. I woke up, had my coffee. We went and got more coffee, and we walked.
Yeah, we did. I had a lot of coffee today.
We walked the neighborhood. I really like us walking in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel like it gets my heart rate up a little bit.
It definitely does. He was breathing hard as hell.
I usually wake up and I have my coffee. I just sit down and watch TV, and then
it's kind of lame.
A very sedentary morning.
I don't know what that means.
Like not doing
I know.
anything. Okay.
I'm kidding. So let's get into some questions, man. Today is interview 101 from Richard Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And I want to start with the idea of the fight life.
Okay.
Because I think that's the whole purpose of this podcast is what inspired the fight life? Well, first of all, what is the theme of the fight life? What is the meaning?
So the fight life, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, is they think like I told them the name, and they were like, "Oh, well, then it's all about fighting." And I was like, "No. The fight life is all about the fight that is life, and like the obstacles that you have to overcome to get to where you want to go, like from basic everyday fights to, like the long term fight, the long term goal, and like as far as where the inspiration of it came from is really like a lot of our youth, right? Mm-hmm. Because we come from very humble beginnings, mm-hmm. both myself and you, and we got to witness.
We grew up together.
We did grow up together. We got to witness both sides of. We got to witness our mom and our dad overcome huge obstacles, mm-hmm. and their fights to get to where they are now, which is
for sure
in much better situations than where they were. And I think that that's always inspired a lot of what I've done mm-hmm. in life, is seeing them overcome obstacles, and then me being like, okay, I want to do that too. Mm-hmm. And then this is a way that I can bring people on who have done similar things, mm-hmm. and they can share their stories with us. But as well, it allows me to be myself and talk to people and have good conversations with people, and like I was telling you before, just have an outlet to do things.
Well, but outside of like the external thing, like other people, mm-hmm. right? What is the internal inspiration? Like, what is it internally? What have you, basically, what has been your fight life to inspire you?
It's a lot of things. The fight within myself mm-hmm. is the toughest one, and you know this. We've talked about this many times. People close to me know this, but a lot of people on the outside, they don't see. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very I always feel like I'm undeserving mm-hmm. of what I get. Anytime that something happens to me that's good, I feel like I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And I was having a talk with somebody yesterday about this, and I don't know why my mentality is like this, but when I go into a sparring, right, mm-hmm. and I go and I train and I spar, I don't ever, after that sparring session's done, I don't ever think about the good things that I did. Mm-hmm. I think about the bad things that happened. I think about, I got hit with this shot, I got hit with that shot, and I mm-hmm. guess that's kind of the inspiration, personal inspiration, is like overcoming my own mental struggles, mm-hmm. the problems in my head. Is kind of, that's my battle. That's my biggest battle.
Yeah, for sure. What's crazy, man, is I watched a thing on Cerrone yesterday, right? Completely irrelevant to the questions, but it's pretty crazy. I don't know if you saw it, but he was talking about how he gets scared before his fights. Mm-hmm. Have you seen it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he talked to it towards the end, and he was like, he's like, I don't understand it. He's like, I'm on my last run. He's like, but I don't understand it. And then he was talking about how he has a jiu-jitsu match coming up with RDA, I guess.
yeah.
And he was like, I'm not gonna get scared for that.
Hmm.
He's like, so how come I'm getting scared for fights? He's like, what is it? And he's just talking about, like, they asked him, they're like, so what are you trying to do? What are you trying to figure out? Are you going to figure out how to, how to get the flame going? And he's like, no, I'm not. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I've seen the whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's badass. And he's just
Yeah.
like, it's not even about getting the flame going. It's about, I'm gonna figure out what happens when the lighter doesn't work.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? And I'm like, man, that's pretty crazy. That's cool. 'Cause
Yeah.
it just tells you where he's at mentally.
Mhm. Tyson talks about it as well, like how
Yeah.
before the fights he's like so scared,
Mhm.
and that's come from like one of the most hardcore guys out there.
Yeah. So one thing, man, and here's and I think this is something important because I watched a really cool video yesterday on a dude who he actually won $52,000 on a game show whenever he was a teenager, and became a huge alcoholic. And powerlifting went and changed his life. And he always talked about, like, man, the first step to him actually making that change. And he podcasts his life every day. And his whole podcast, or not podcast, but his whole videos, his daily videos were actually of him being drunk because people would laugh at him.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of viewers. And finally he admitted that he was an alcoholic. And he did a complete 180, which is really cool. Long story short, man, for you, mentally, what do you think, where do you think your mental struggles or your mental battle manifests from? What is it? At what point did you realize, like, oh man, this is an issue? Was it, were you in 5th grade, 4th grade, 2 days ago? Like, and where does it manifest?
Oh, this is a deep question. I don't think that there was like a certain point in time. Well, I don't know, man. That's because, yeah, like whenever I started fighting, like in my head I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a killer. I'm gonna be great at this. But I don't know. I guess because our childhood was different, right? And in my head, it was like I was never good enough. So everything that I did, it was never good enough. It was never good enough. If we played football, it was never good enough. We ran track, it was never good enough. Anything I did was just never good enough.
Yeah.
And I guess that at some point that started, like, because it did go away for a while. Whenever
Yeah.
I started fighting, I was like, I'm going to be great at this.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be great at it. I know I'm going to be great at it. But then at one point, like, in fighting, it just became to, like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And no matter what I do, I'll get moments of reassurance to where I'm like, oh, I am good enough.
Yeah.
And then, like, the next day, it's like, you got lucky. You know what I mean? Like, you're really not that good. Or that guy really doesn't know you that well to know that you were that, you know what I mean? He's just bumping up your ego, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, I don't know at what particular point that had happened.
It's just progressive.
Yeah, I think it just built up over time. Because, like I said, whenever we were kids, like, it was like never good enough.
Yeah.
I was never going to get to the point to where I, felt like I was good at something. Then that went away when I started fighting. I just think I think I had the right people at that time around me that were kind of fueling that, like, you can do this. You know what I mean? Because there was days whenever I got demolished and I came home and was like, man, I'm just not good enough to do this. And then I would have people who were like, no, you can do this. Like, I'm not going to let you give up. You want to give up, but I'm not going to let you give up on yourself.
Yeah. So it was something that you think was just progressive.
Yeah, I think just over time it happened.
So how much of that do you take a serious question? How much of that, like, okay, because evidently you're saying, okay, well, you never felt good enough because of you're like, oh man, well, I was at a really high point whenever I had people around me that were keeping me high, and then I had people around me that were keeping me low, and I was at a low point. How much of that whole thing do you take responsibility for? Because you are basically, you're being your attitude is based off of the people around you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And then and again, this can go way deeper, but
yeah,
is it better?
Like, obviously I have to take full responsibility, but there's some of those people that I just couldn't keep around. Life, has its way of bringing people in and out of your life in certain phases and different times. So some of those people weren't able to stay around with me. They have their own lives that they have to live. They can't worry about coddling me
Yeah.
all the way. You know what I mean? So I take responsibility because I allowed. It wasn't that I let the negative people go. It was that let the positive people go.
Yeah.
It was that I allowed the negative people in and allowed, because they were always there.
Yeah.
It was just I never allowed their words to take up the majority of my mindset. It was always I allowed the positive people, the people that I really care about, I allowed them to feed me that positivity. And now that they were gone, I let these negative people feed me the
Whatever.
negativity.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I just asked, man, because like it comes like whether it's the videos I watch, and this might sound kind of lame, but I do watch a lot of Dr. Phil stuff, and it's just
Some of the stuff's
entertaining, bro.
interesting, man. Some of it is good. Some of it is good.
It just seems like most people, whenever they're trying to overcome anything in life, any kind of a battle that's internal, it starts with identifying the issue. But like one thing I see a lot of is like most times when people want to identify an issue, they want to identify it from, like I told you, from the external perspective of like, oh well, this person, that person, and they never really, there's never really, you can't even like the true issue is always internal, and it's not until they like identify what that is that they can finally make progress. It's something I've kind of noticed in like a pattern, and it's like, I've seen people on certain shows where they're just like blaming other people, and then 10 years later they're the same person, like nothing's happening, so I think a lot, and that's for me, like, again, for the Fight Life experience, people that are going through things like, okay, the alcoholic one is for years he made videos being drunk and yet would never identify himself as an alcoholic. He was just like, I'm just not.
Yeah.
And then once he did, things changed. And so, for people that are going through a fight in life or anything like that, is at what point do you sit back and you're like, all right, man, let me really dissect the issue within me, and things like that. Because like you said, man, there's so many, I think there's a lot of points that go on from like our childhood to even like, middle age stuff all the way to adulthood. But it's like, okay, those things happen to us, but what could we have done different, or how could we have reacted differently that I would have had a different outcome? So that's just kind of, something I've noticed, and I just didn't know where you were. So what is your overall goal, man, with the Fight Life? Like, what is, outside of, okay, we identified what it is, where it came from, but what is the big goal?
Like as far as the show in general, or
yeah, as far as the show in general, like, okay, you the idea is to bring awareness to people that are struggling.
Yeah.
Fight. But then, okay, what's next? Like, what happens after that awareness? Is there an inspirational aspect to it?
I want to inspire. I want people who are in the spots that either I'm in or one of my guests are in or we're in to be able to see this and say, like, I want to do that same thing. He did it, I can do it. I listened to how he did it. I listened to the things that he told me to do, eliminating the negative people in my life, bringing in positive people into my life. I want to inspire them and let them know, like, hey, you can do this. You know what I mean? Because I needed that. You know what I mean? I needed that. I still need it till today. There are times whenever I need people to tell me, like, hey, bro, like, you're better than what you think you are.
Yeah.
So I'd be drowning in a sea of negativity. So that's what I want to do, is I want to bring, positive vibes to everybody. I want people to see the show and be like, man, like, that inspired me to get up and start my business. That inspired me to get out of bed and say, I'm going to push for that promotion. That's kind of the whole point of it. As well as, like I spoke with you earlier, I want it to be inspirational, yes, but there are times where I just want it to be me and whoever else just having a good time, laughing. And if people need an escape from whatever they're going on in life and they just need something to laugh about or whatever, they can tune in and say, like, okay, this podcast makes me laugh. Like, I can take a look at that. You know what I mean? So there's going to be the inspirational, motivational episodes. Then there's also going to be like the me being goofballs with my small group of goofy friends. You know what I mean?
for sure, all three of them.
Yeah.
All three friends he has, including me, Mom, and Chris. Wait, what? Okay, here's a deep question, and I think this one right here takes a lot of digging and a lot of I don't even know, soul searching maybe, and it's not even that deep of a question, but it can be. A lot of times, man, when people have trauma in life, right, known or unknown, they tend to take that same trauma and put that onto other people. So like, you know, if someone grows up without a father, they tend to most of the time, not all the time, 90% of the time, they'll, you know, end up abandoning their children. Or if someone was beaten growing up, they tend to beat their children.
Yeah.
Things like that. Do you ever feel, because I think it's something that goes unconscious, not for you, but just in general, when people struggle, do you ever feel like, man, sometimes that overtakes you? Sometimes some of the struggles you had in life, or the way someone, you know, people treated you in life, you treat other people that way. Because I think a lot of people, again, that are going to be on your show, this is going to be something that they're going to hear, and they're going to be like, they identify, like, damn, you know what, I do that, and it's something that people need to hear. You know,
I think.
But do you ever catch yourself doing that?
For myself, I feel like, and I might be wrong. You know, it's hard for me to like interview myself and think, am I like, you know, am I like? For me, I think it's the opposite. I think I do. I've seen things whenever I was young, and it makes me say, like, okay, I'm not going to do those things. You know what I mean? And I've seen how people have treated other people whenever we were young, and I said, I'm not going to treat people that way. You know, a lot of people have this this idea of who I am, but the people who really know me, like, they know the real me. They
You're
know
a hoodlum.
I'm not this. I got called a hoodlum today
you gotta
by
call
some
it
lady
hoodlum,
that has no idea who I was. But yeah, I think like the people have this idea of who I am because of, I guess, you know, the fighting and this and that. But like the people who really know me know that I'm definitely not that guy. So I think it's just, I don't know. For myself, I think I'm the opposite. You know, I seen people do A, B, and C that were bad, so I was like, I'm definitely not going to do those things. You know what I mean? Like, I have never drank, never smoked, I've never done any of those things due to like things that happened whenever we were kids. You know, and there's other things. You know, I handle. I get angry, but I don't ever like, you know, project that angry. Huh?
You threw knives at me.
That was whenever I was a kid.
I'm just kidding.
We're talking about right now. We're talking about right now.
You swung on me when I hit you with a pillow.
That was when I was a kid. Now I've learned.
I'm just kidding.
I've grown out of that phase.
I'm just being.
But yeah, like I get angry, like most people do, but I don't ever project it. I don't ever, you know, most of the time don't let it be shown. And yeah, I don't know. I think I learned from it, but I might be wrong. There might be things like we could talk about after this one, or even if you want to bring them up now, that like I do that I don't even realize. You know what I mean? Yeah,
for sure. And to most people, it is subconscious. I don't specifically have one. I was just asking because I know that it is a very common thing.
I try to be as real with myself as possible. Like, I know that there's a ton of people who, when they paint their picture of themselves in their head, they think they paint themselves as like this perfect person, and like I try, and maybe that's part of the negativity in me, but like I know my faults. Like I know where I've messed up, and I just try to be better at those things. Like everybody's got their vices, everybody's got, you know, their problems, and you know, I try to be better. I don't try and code them at all. You know, if I suck at something, I say I suck at it. You know what I mean?
for sure. No, man, I mean, that can go into a whole other topic of something else we talk about on the podcast. But
yeah,
I do think, well, no, man, because I think like a lot of people, they hide stuff like that through social media and stuff, and they try to paint this perfect picture, and then that can get into, you know, that shows like the increased rate of depression and stuff for people is they projecting that image through social media and stuff like that. To me, I've always been one, like the Fight Life thing, is to want to use social media as a platform to help others and stuff like that. And then I got into the issue, and that's how you deal with general public. I got into the issue of like I would post things that really helped me and are meaningful for me, or things I was struggling with, and I would make a post about it, not even like specifically, but just something inspirational. And people were like, "Oh, you think you're perfect because you're posting this?" Like, no, mother.
I'm posting it
because I needed it. It helped me, you know. So then I had to deal with that, and so it's the same concept, man. And that's something I think, you know, people that when you talk about the Fight Life and wanting to be inspirational, I think you're gonna have that kind of a backlash no matter what. But it's not for those people. It's for the people that know something is wrong. Wrong, and know that they need it. Which is good, man. Which is good. So, the struggles, you know, everything that inspired you to want to start the fight life.
Mm.
Are those you know, how have you handled those battles so far? Are those battles you're still fighting?
I fight them every day.
Till this day.
And, yeah, some days are good, some days are bad. Yeah, every day I fight them. Every day I wake up. I mean, I told you, like, yesterday, I can't get into the specifics of it, but, like, I had a really good opportunity present itself.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, well, like, I'm still in disbelief that this person would even want to work with me on this level
Mm-hmm.
because of how high level they are
Mm-hmm.
and where I think of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I still fight those battles every day. I still, you know, with opportunities, and that's the main thing, is like with opportunities that I've been given, I still feel unworthy of them.
Mm-hmm.
There are times whenever I'm like, oh, you definitely deserve it, and then there's 10 minutes where I feel like, man, you deserve this, and then there's 50 minutes where I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna make a mistake.
So then, what are you doing proactively to fix that or help that? Because it seems like, 'cause like you said, you know, we've been on the show probably for a few months, and it's like you've talked about, this opportunity, that opportunity, this opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if let's be honest, like if you handle this one the same as the other ones, you're gonna end up in the
Yeah.
same position.
Yeah.
So what are you doing proactively to, like, okay, you know what, let me handle this opportunity a little different?
I really nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really look at it, like, it's just I'm trying to fight it every day. Like, you know, I wake up in the morning, and if we're being honest, I wake up in the morning and I hate myself.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, why are you like this, bro? Like, I really
Yeah.
think to myself, I'm like, why are you like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you've got a life that most people would love to have,
Mm-hmm.
but yet you still, like, you know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like proactively, you wake up and you're already bam in the dumps.
Yeah, already in the dumps, and then I try and build myself up, and it's like surrounding myself with things that are gonna bring me up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watch The Office. I love The Office. Why? Because it's a freaking hilarious show, and
Well, that's your problem. You have no sense of humor. You have the wrong sense of humor. I'm kidding.
I feel like it brings me out of that. Not that it brings me out of it, but it uplifts my mood.
So
The thing that I probably do most is I try to surround myself with as much positivity as possible.
for sure.
Now, I don't have a lot of that in face-to-face. You know, I don't have a big circle. I don't have a lot of.
This is one thing I was trying to lead to right here,
Uh-huh.
and it's funny that you said that. Is because one thing we had, you know, I noticed with you personally, right? If we're gonna get real into it, and I brought this up in the truck one time, is a lot of times, and it seems like maybe it's a dopamine fix, maybe it's just like, I think you wake up how you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to turn on something that puts you in a very passive mode, like you turn on The Office, and you don't have to think, you don't have to do anything, you're just watching TV and laughing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're internally you're on autopilot. And we talked about this on the way to Dad's. Me and you rode to the truck and Dad's, and the first thing you want to do is put on a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, dog, what's wrong with just sitting down talking, you know, and just having
Mm-hmm.
a conversation? Because, and I think, you know, and a lot of times I think you do that is you put yourself on autopilot from the start because it just gets you away from thinking so much about stuff. That's just my personal analysis, you know. And a lot of times, I mean, people, you know, you wake up, you're like, all right, Office, and then from the Office, I know you have a good time when we go to the coffee and we're talking, but then, you know, you get that experience. So what is your plan in the future moving forward, like to be more proactive, to help that isn't autopilot-ish, that isn't?
Man, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, how do you get yourself to believe in yourself? You know what I mean? Like, trying to figure that out is I have no idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and this has been my battle the entire time, is like, you know, why is it that people I don't know believe more in me than myself? You know what I mean? Guys that I just met, that just, like, that I'm just getting acquainted with, want to do big things with me, and they believe in me. Why can't I believe in myself?
Yeah. That was good, man. I think that, like you said, I think it goes back to you being hard on yourself. A lot of it has to do, and again, I don't know how you handle it because you only know, but a lot of it has to do with how you do handle failures and things like that. Again, I don't know how you handle that personally. When you fought, you won. I didn't see you fail at that.
Yeah.
I don't know in your mind, how do you feel you handle failures when things went wrong or went bad? Let's what's something you felt at?
Everything growing up. Like if we generally look at it and we take it, I wasn't good at anything when we were growing up. There was nothing
That's not true.
What
That's not true.
What look at that?
Drawing.
I was okay at that.
No. See, you were good at it. You just never. The seed was planted. You never watered it.
That's true.
You were good at it. You just never pursued anything in that.
That's true.
I think you always see, and this is where I get confused. I think you always pursued stuff that I was good at.
That's true.
And the one time you find something that I'm not as good at than you, and you do really well at,
and now you can draw better than me.
I wasn't talking about drawing. I was talking about drawing. With the fighting thing, I feel like you're kind of lost because for the first time you're in the lead and you don't have anything to look up to. You don't have anything in the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat. And I think you're like a deer in headlights. You're like, I don't want to mess up. Like you're like, I want to be. I don't want to drop it because I don't want to break it. I don't want to go wrong. I don't want to. Let's be honest.
That's one thing that I've been thinking about is like you just said, like when we were younger, like I wasn't good at very much, right? Like everything I tried to do, I wasn't good at. And as of recent, and it sounds bad because if you look at where my life is, you're like, okay, that guy's not a winner, but. And a lot of things that I've done, I'm on a streak of success. Mm-hmm. If you really look at it, right? Like everything that I've done has done pretty well.
Yeah.
Since high school,
mm-hmm.
right? I got out of high school, went right into fighting. That went pretty well for me. From there, opened the gym. That went pretty well for me.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while to get going, but it went pretty well for a while. And then I've got these other opportunities that are popping up, and those are good opportunities. But now I think that I'm in the point to where I'm like, I've been so successful for so long. Like, do I want to risk this failure? You know what I mean? Do I want to risk having that L on my record?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I don't know, and I think a lot of it because again, if you get back to like the manifesting things, like. Because you keep saying, "Oh, I wasn't good at a lot growing up. I wasn't good at a lot growing up," and I don't think that's true. I think you just weren't good at what I was good at. But at the same time, I wasn't good at what you were good at. You just chose to try to pursue what I was doing. You know what I mean? And then it put you in that state like, "Oh, I'm a failure," but you never really watered the seed to anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now you're stuck in this idea. And again, I think it just goes back to maybe the deer in headlights thing. Like for the first time, you're like you're pursuing something way different than what any of this family does.
Yeah.
Any of us.
Well, and then I think what worries me the most is like not even taking an L, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with taking L's in secret, like myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like whenever I go to the gym and I lose, like I'll spar and I'll get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. Like I'm fine with it. What worries me the most is like the people that I care about. How are they gonna view that L? You know what I'm saying? Like I think that whenever I really dig down, like I'm okay with getting beat up. Like I am so cool with that because it happens all the time. I go into Jordan's place to do jiu-jitsu, I get tapped every time. Every time I get tapped.
Yeah.
I go spar with these high-level gyms, I get beat up every single time, and I'm okay with it. Matter of fact, I walk out the door happier than when I walked in, right? But if I were to go into fight night and I were to lose and nobody that I care about knew about it, I'd be cool with it. But when the people that I care about like look at it and they're like, man,
which is crazy, man, because it's crazy because like I mean, this to me goes to two things. This is we can go two ways with this because like it's crazy because that's okay. Let's take me with the business. It's not like elite ever went without its failures. Like, yes, everyone externally sees the successes and sees the good things, but I tell you all the time, like, man, I made 100 mistakes before I get one right. Like, I tell you all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, and again, some people know the mistakes, some people don't. I mess up plenty of times with building that business. But I also think the other side of that goes into like, I think there is some kind of an internal issue, because you have the issue of like, the conversation me and you had. You won your last fight, but you feel like a loser.
Yeah.
So is it about wins and losses? Because it's not. And why do you feel like a loser? Because you walked out of there not giving 100%.
Yeah.
Knowing you could have done better, knowing you could have done something different.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you fought in front of your family and the ones that you care about, and you lost, but you know you gave it 100%, I think you would be okay.
Yeah.
I think you'd be absolutely okay with that. I think at that moment you would probably find a lot of you'd have the Cerrone mindset of like, I had fun.
It sounds bad, but like every time that I think about going back to fighting, right? I want to lose. Like when I think about going back to fighting, I'm like, I just need that one loss.
Yeah.
Like I need that one loss, just so that way I know like nothing else can be, you know, bad. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's like, and this is how I know this, because when you went to Vegas that one time, you got your ass whooped.
Yeah.
And you know how I know you got your ass whooped? Because you never came to me and said, I won anything. All you said is, I held my own.
Yeah.
But you were so okay with that, because I feel like when you were in Vegas, you gave it 100%.
Yeah.
And even though I'm sure when you were there, you probably got your ass whooped by somebody, it was pretty evident, because when you win, you come and you tell me you win. When you lose, you said, but you gave it 100%, you said, man, I held my own.
Yeah.
And you were so content with that, and you were okay with that. And no matter that outcome, you were going to be completely happy. I think that just comes from a deeper place than like caring what everyone else thinks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, even if you didn't get the invite to go to Vegas, I think you would have been just fine. Whether I would have been okay with it, anybody that was there would have been okay with it. You know what I mean?
Like what's that saying? It's like the don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game.
So I like, so maybe like the internal thing with you is like, man, maybe like you're worried you're not giving 100%. You know, or something. You know, I don't know what it is, man, but because I feel like that's your biggest thing. Because I know when you do something and it's 100% and you lose, you're okay with it. Again, the Vegas thing.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but I feel like
it
you
wasn't
didn't.
Pretty.
I feel like you didn't win every fight. You know,
no, far from it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. And I wasn't there, and you've never told me I won, I lost. You've never told me anything. I've just always felt like, okay, he didn't win, but he was so satisfied because he gave it 100%. And maybe that's what it is, man.
I'm satisfied doing what I love. Is like, as long as you said, like, as long as I give it 100%. Like that last fight took a lot out of me.
Yeah,
it really did. Because when I left there, I felt I would have been happier if I lost.
For sure.
Because I deserved it.
Well, and that's,
you know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like,
I absolutely the bed.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I think your mentality is a little off with the idea of like, you're doing all this for other people. You're doing it so that our dad's happy for you and I'm happy for you and all this stuff, right? And the reality is, you won your last fight, and we still give you shit about it.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's not about winning and losing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about that. I would rather you be in a Forrest Griffin and old boy fight and lose.
Well,
like, you know what I mean? Like, knowing. Yeah. Like, that's just, and I don't know, man. I think that's.
I think that's why it was so different between my first and my second fight. Like, my first fight, nobody believed me. You know, nobody thought I could win. Nobody.
I did.
Well, I mean, the majority of people were like. Actually, I still get it on my freaking the day of the fight. So like November 30th is coming up. Their Facebook memories is gonna pop up, and there's gonna be a post from you that says, "I got $100." That says my brother whoops this guy's ass.
I remember posting that while I was there.
But yeah, it pops up every time. But that first one. Not very many people thought I could do it. You know what I mean? You and probably my coaches were about it.
For sure.
Everybody else, so I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Like, I went in there and I was like, if I lose, then everybody's right.
Yeah.
If I win, then, you know, oh well. But I went in there with a different mindset. Like, I don't know, man. It wasn't a show to me back then.
Yeah.
You know, that second fight, it was a show. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he had asked me about it, and I said, you know, that fight, I didn't go in there to win. I went in there not to lose.
Yeah.
And it was just a different mindset that I had going into that one, which is why that rematch sounds so appealing. Sounds so appealing.
No, not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
Because you don't have that same like you're supposed to win.
That's true.
You're supposed to win. It's not the same. And yeah,
I feel like that tarnished my
it did. It's
not
hard.
my life. It tarnished my. So we talk about like when in my life did I see that
Yeah.
down point? It was like around that time, because after that there was a really big like slope in what was going on in my life. After that, you know, like that loss.
Yeah.
What was a good part of the downfall right there. So, and not that me going in there and fighting him would like change that around or turn that around.
Yeah,
Like, oh my God, my life's gonna blow up because I just beat this guy that I beat 8 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just when I look at, I don't know if that was a mental shift for me. Was like, oh, you're really not as good as you think you are because you barely beat this guy that you were supposed to fucking destroy. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I mean that's good feedback. It's good feedback. I just, you know, I think understanding it's very difficult, man, from a lot of perspectives. Because I think you just dug into something way deeper than what you've been saying. Because for the first time, it was like you. It wasn't about like, oh, I'm trying to make this person happy, that person happy. It's like, okay, after that fight, I went through some things in my life that really started a downfall. Yeah. You know, and it's no longer about like, oh, other people. Because again, and I don't think it was about wins and losses either. Because again, you've lost and been completely okay with that.
Yeah.
Because you went in, you got your ass whooped, but you gave it everything you had, and you held your own against people. Again, when you were the underdog.
Yeah.
You know, you have this thing, you like to be the underdog, and that's good because most people that do, you know, they always want to strive for more. But for some reason, you know, you seem to like you hit this block where you're like,
I don't like being the front runner, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that goes back to what I was telling you. For the first time in the family, you're doing something different.
Yeah.
And you are the front runner in that aspect, and you're just like running around with, you know, you don't know what to do.
True.
You know, and you do this thing to where you're building up your accolades. I can't even talk. And all that, but man, you have a bachelor's degree and no job. You're
That's
not
true.
using it.
Well, we talk about that.
Yeah, like you're building up all these accolades and everything, and it's like, all right, everybody has. So you're building up these expectations for yourself, and you don't even like that because you like to be the underdog, and you're never even putting them on display.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time.
One of the things I've enjoyed most about not having the gym is because I felt like when I had the gym, there was a point in time where I was like, okay, I'm going to fight again.
Yeah.
You know, and I even got, you know, locked up on a couple cards and stuff, and I was dropping the weight and everything. But that was added pressure. I was like, now all my students are going to be watching me. All my students think, oh, I'm going to go destroy this guy. But what if I get in there and the bed again? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going in with the wrong mentality from time to time. But when I can just go in there and be myself, like even in sparring, like if I go into a sparring match and I'm like, oh, I have to win this, you know, which I think is stupid. Nobody wins in sparring. But if I go with somebody that I don't like and I'm like, oh, I want to destroy them, then I generally the bed. Like I'll still do well, but I could have done a lot better if I just said, hey, man, I'm going to go in there and let's have some fun, baby.
Yeah, that's good, and that's what it should be.
Yeah, that's what I love. That's when I'm at the top of my game. Is whenever I go in there and I'm like, there's no pressure and it's just like have fun. Like when I went to Rufus Sport and I sparred with like the best guys in the world, like the best strikers in the world, went and sparred with them. I did my best because I was just having fun. I went in there with no expectations. Like my expectation was like they're gonna me up, or mess me up. But you know, we had a good time.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
No, man, I like it. I like digging into it because it's a very interesting thing from a lot of different perspectives, man. Watching, you know, obviously being a part of your life and watching you grow, and then like out of nowhere you kind of hit that point where it's like, I don't know, man. It's like a plateau or something, and just trying to figure out, all right, what happened that you had this mental plateau or this, this block.
Well, there was a point in time, like I had this saying, and you know this because like you were here at that point in time where I was like, doubt me. Like people would tell me something, I'm like, doubt me, like do it. I even had a shirt that said doubt me.
Yeah.
Like people would tell me like, you can't do that, and I'm like, doubt me, bro, and just watch, just sit back and watch what I do. And I had a confidence about me back then, but then like I said, like there was a point in my life where it just like it became like somebody was like, man, you can't do that, and I'm like, you know what, you're right.
Where'd that come from? I don't know where that came from.
Dude,
because I mean, I know anytime, and again, I know we're two different people and stuff, man, but anytime I get told, hey, you can't do that, it's like, won't bet.
Yeah,
and usually most of the times when that comes from people, it's from
well, like I had said,
themselves.
there was a point in time in my life where things really slipped away, and I think that's when it really started going, because I was in a very negative setting. I was surrounded by a bunch of negative people. All those positive influences I had in my life were now gone, and I was basically restarting my life in a different atmosphere that wasn't what I needed. You know what I mean? In order to do what I wanted to do, and that's a lot of people don't understand. Like the people you surround yourself with makes such a difference. Sure. You know what I mean? It was that loss, and then it was just like, I mean, I called it a loss.
No, you've been doing that. You don't even notice.
Have I?
Yeah, this whole time.
Really?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, it was that fight, and then it was just like a whirlwind of down, and then I tried to come back.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's time. You got to pull yourself up out of this. And it started rolling back uphill, but then I got to that midpoint to where the tires are just worn out, and we just slide right back down.
Yeah. And at the same time, man, like it's not just hanging around people that do what you do. It's people that I think everyone needs to have someone who is better than them in their circle, or who they at least look up to that's in their circle. Back then, I don't know your circle, but back then I bet if you sparred with Mike, he'd probably whoop your ass. And so you had that. I know maybe even if you go long, farther back enough, you had Laramie, who was a great influence in there, not just not just from like a spiritual perspective, but also just a good mentor in general, like as being a good person. You had things like that were very that you lost, and it's like, so even if you're like, oh, I want to surround myself around people that do what I do or that are good at what I do, I think it is important, this just goes for everybody, to surround yourself around people that are better. It was weird. I had a weird switch in my life too, and this is probably around the same time you did. And for a while there, man, my best friend was a 40-year-old dude who was running a very, very successful business. He was doing something that I was trying to do, but he was doing it way better. And you have that shift. And I think that's a real important thing, man. I really do. And like you said, because people would say, oh, watch you surround with it. Sometimes people just want to surround themselves around good people. But to me, it's way better than that, because in my mind, if you're the best in your circle, you're not growing.
Which is definitely something that I've struggled with, because like now I never replaced those people, and not saying that they could ever be replaced. When they left, I never went out and looked for somebody else to bring in and take that part.
Why'd they leave?
Just life, things change. Not that Mike left me, right? Because
no, I'm just asking in general.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Is like, not that Mike left me, because I love Mike, but he has his family, he has his things going on. So Mike had to go and take care of Mike and his family, and that was a big positive influence. I started with Mike. You know what I mean? Like Mike.
How much of it is
the beatings that he used to put on me, and then just to like watch us grow, and the positivity that he would like. You know what I mean?
Like out of curiosity, how much of it is he left versus you stepped away type of thing? Just because I feel, and I don't know y'all's situation at all. This isn't just for Mike. I feel like even now, if I were to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Laramie, I need someone to talk to for an hour or two," he's gonna show up.
Yeah.
And I ain't talked to Laramie in years.
Yeah.
I just know that. Well, I've talked to him at the city, but that's it. Like business stuff. I guarantee you, if you text Mike and say, "Hey man, Friday, I need a sparring session," he's gonna show up even if it's 5 a.m.
Yeah. Well, most of the time we do, and we link up all the time, and that's, I think that's where I find comfort, because when I decide that I'm gonna fight, right, all the different times that I say like, oh, I think it's time for me to start fighting, right away in my head I'm like, I need these people in my life.
Yeah.
Right. I need to reach out to Mike. Mike's the guy I need to be training with, and it's nothing against any of my other coaches.
For sure.
Right. I started with Mike, and that's where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. You can give me every other coach that I've ever worked with, but Mike is the guy that I feel comfortable with.
Yeah. No, I think that's important. I think because as a fighter, you're built. I think your skills are embedded already. You're good. Your skills are there. If you were to ever take a fight, the problem is you go into this regimen of like, all right, I need to do this, need to do that, need to do this, and you're trying to build on something that's already there. And yet what you should be building on is your mental and spiritual and physical state of mind versus like, all right, I got to hit this run. I got to kickbox this long. Let me go kickbox at Spartan, even though I've never taken a fight training at Spartan or Satori in my life. And it's like, I think every once in a while, man, to get back to that, you got to get back to your roots.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for me in 2015. Whenever I started getting in shape, was like I really took things back to my roots of things. But
and that's what I would.
if you ever took a fight again, like why piss on the kickboxing thing? Like you can do that on your own for an hour a day, but why not link up with Mike once or twice a week and just chill and kick it, or link up with someone that's going to influence you positively. Just in general, man, just sit down, have some coffee, and have a conversation. Like to me, that's way more important for you when you have a fight coming up than I need to go work out for 4 hours a day, because your skills are there.
I think the working out is I guess a confidence builder for me, because I feel like I've always been the kind of person that I'm gonna outwork whoever, you know what I mean? Like, but
I know, and that's not always smart.
And but that's the thing is like I don't think that I was trying to get my skills better. I just needed the mental edge of knowing like he didn't do what I did today.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that sucks, because to me that goes into like a very old school mindset, and I think that was embedded in us at a very young age. And now I personally know someone can work way harder and be in a lot worse shape than others, which sucks, man, because I think that's so embedded in you that you want to always work, and things you get hurt.
Well, see, and that was like back then I trained hard, but like I didn't train as hard then as what I do now.
Yeah.
And I think it's because like back then I had the confidence builders that was Mike, that was some of these other people that I had in my life. So I didn't need to go out there and train 4 hours every single day.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, because I would have Mike, we would do a hour-long session, then afterwards he'd tell me, hey, you're doing good, man, and I trusted him.
Yeah.
This is a guy who has way more knowledge than me. I trust him that he's saying, I'm right on track. So, okay, I got that. Whereas now I don't have that person, and I train, and then it's like I got to train more because I don't feel like I don't have anybody.
You're relying on yourself.
Like, exactly. I don't have anybody telling me like, hey man, you're right where we need you to be.
Yeah.
And that goes back to even people that I've had like falling outs with, like Nick, right? Like, and I didn't even really have a falling out because me and him are still friends. We're still cool. There was a comfort there with Nick, right? Because with these guys,
all three words were very comforting.
Wasn't a man of very many words. Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
But but there was a comfort level with him because that's who I started with. Really, with those guys, is I wasn't just another body to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they invested in who I was, which is why I always wanted to bring them along with me. Whatever journey I went on. Whenever I opened up the gym, the ideal was that I would be able to give these guys the opportunity to do what they love because they gave me the opportunity to do what I love. But you know, that's kind of the whole lot of it right there.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, man, and that's, I mean, I think you have a formula if you ever wanted to fight. You, like you said, man, you got to get out of your own head. You rely on yourself a lot. And that's not good, man, because, you know, you, like you said, you work yourself to death. And when's the last time you made it 7 days of actual training and camp and doing things right?
Yeah.
You can't remember. Like, I can't.
I know,
remember.
I can't.
Yeah,
like,
it's 7 days.
I think about it all the time now. I'm like, man, dude, back then it was so easy, like, to stick to the diet and to stick to this and stick to that, and like, to train consistently. Like, back then, like, I didn't even know that I was working hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, back then I had no idea. It was just like regular, like, oh, I got to get off work, got to go grab my stuff, got to go to the gym. It wasn't like, oh, I have to go to the gym. It was just my day.
Yeah.
It's just what I did, and I think it was because I had enjoyed it so much because of a lot of the people that I had around me back then. They made it enjoyable. Hey guys, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the Fight Life podcast. Unfortunately, we did run into a few technical difficulties. As you could tell, the video was glitching throughout as well. It cut off the end of our podcast for some reason. But I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a lot deeper than what I've gone on a lot of my podcasts, especially into myself. As you can tell, we've changed the format of the Fight Life podcast. If you're interested in joining the live audience, I will leave the link to our live audience group in the description box below or above, whether you're watching on YouTube or watching on Facebook. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like, comment, and share. And we will see you guys on the next episode.